I always tell people that if you know the desired result that you would like to have on LinkedIn, meaning you would like to find a great new hire, you would like to shift into a new career, you would like to gain new leads, you would like to generate new conversations, you would like to have collaborations, you would like to do more consulting, speaking, coaching, selling, maybe a product or service instead of a physical good. I've worked with lawyers, I've worked with accountants, financial service professionals, insurance professionals, supply chain demand companies. As long as you know the end result of what you're looking to achieve, I can teach you how to navigate through the facets of LinkedIn to make it work for you.
Hello, profiters, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders. I am so excited today. We have a special treat. We have Scott Aaron with us. Now, Scott is an internationally acclaimed, award-winning online marketer. He's a 3 times best-selling author. He's a top podcaster as well as a speaker. And Scott specializes in converting traffic, establishing connections, and really using LinkedIn to build a personal brand. And Scott is a people-focused, results-driven entrepreneur, and he teaches others how to create wealth online through organic traffic. And this is especially important in competing in a saturated digital world. And I am so excited because today we're going to talk about sales. We're going to talk about how to sell, how to build and create leads using LinkedIn, especially in this world of social distancing, of not being able to go put on those shoes and go knock on those prospect doors. We're going to talk about building that reach, those leads, and creating leads through LinkedIn. So please join me in welcoming Scott Aaron to our platform. Hey, Scott, how are you doing today?
Hey, Susanne, doing fantastic. And thank you again so much for having me on the show today.
I am so excited because, this is a topic that everybody is curious about, especially those that are building sales teams out there. And, you used to be able to dial for dollars. You pick up the phone book or that sales genie list and you call, or I think my first advice when I first start my business was get a good pair of shoes and get ready to do a whole lot of walking. Yeah. The world is a whole lot different. So tell me, you're like one of the pioneers of reaching out online. Tell me about how you discover this and how you found LinkedIn as an avenue for networking and lead generation.
So, I've always been an entrepreneur. I jokingly tell people that I've been psychologically unemployable since day one. So I started in business when I was 18 and a half, almost 19 years old. I was in the service-based industry. My family had 3 different health clubs. So I was a personal trainer, sports nutritionist, gym owner. So I was used to openly communicating with people. And in that line of business, the reason why people join a gym is to solve for a problem that they're having, whether that's to lose weight, to gain muscle, to look better, to feel better, cardio, whatever it is. So my entire beginning of my career was built around solving people's problems. So that started in 1998. And obviously, with the advent of the internet and online businesses, things really started to shift and change. And I didn't get online. I think I joined Facebook in 2008. I don't even know when, but it was kind of like a thing that you did because everybody else was doing it. But when I got really serious about expanding my business, when you're a personal trainer, you're only as good as the amount of time slots that you have available. And I was trading time for dollars. If I wasn't training someone in my gym or at their house, I wasn't earning income. So I was looking for a way to generate not only qualified leads, but I was more interested in a way to generate quality conversations and relationships with people online. Now, again, that could be done on Facebook and Instagram, but I was coming from more of the perspective of the business owner, the business professional, the big thinker, thought leader. So I remember this is about 2012, 2013. I had started to leverage the online space for my wellness practice to expand my book of business, which went extremely well. But at the same time, I was looking for a higher end clientele. I was looking for another way to connect with more people. And I remember having a LinkedIn profile, but really didn't know much about it. I thought it was for recruiters. I thought it was for finding a job. And I started a LinkedIn profile back in 2009, put all my gym stuff on there, and basically just left it there to collect dust, which a lot of people have. So I remember I was at a personal development convention, and the gentleman who was hosting the event was citing some examples about the law of numbers. You know, again, back to your example with cold calling, you know, basically you smile and dial, right? With growing any sort of business, now with the online ability and availability that we all have, it's imperative for us to be on there. But I didn't really know the full reasoning why I should. So I was at this conference, and this gentleman was kind of going over, you know, the different facets of the different social media platforms. But more so, he had some people on stage that he was interviewing about the amount of conversations that they had to have to get to where they were. Now, they were not correlating this with LinkedIn. They were just speaking from a general perspective. And the smallest number of conversations I heard was around 7,000. And I was like, man, I'm in trouble. Because at the time, I was really only leveraging Facebook, which you're only allowed 5,000 friends. And I think anyone listening to this knows that no one has the emotional capacity to maintain 5,000 friendships. There's a lot of acquaintances on there. But in my mind, I was looking at something bigger. And there were three main reasons why I chose the avenue of LinkedIn. A, you're allowed 30,000 connections, which is 6 times larger than Facebook. B, the average age is 35 to 55, which was more my demographic of ideal clients, but also people that I wanted to link arms with. And C, the average income was between $75,000 to $100,000 a year more, because I was looking and wanting to connect with people that had a prosperous conscience like I did. So I got on there and I started noodling around and trying to figure out what it was, change my profile. And within a few weeks, I started to get some traction. I started to get some connections accepted, and I started messaging people and started booking calls. And within about 3 months, I was averaging about 15 to 20 new calls per week. And I said, this is crazy. So I reached out to a buddy of mine and I said, listen, Joey, you got to get on LinkedIn. I said, this platform it's powerful and it's doing some big things. And I want you to do A, B, and C. And so I told him a little bit of what I knew how to do at the time. And I said, do this for 2 weeks, get back to me and let me know what happens. So 2 weeks rolls by and he shoots me a text message, and all the text message said was, call me. So I called him and I said, what's up? And he goes, dude, listen, whatever you figured out on LinkedIn, it works. He goes, I have 14 calls booked this week. He goes, you should be teaching this to other people. So it was kind of like one of those light bulb moments where I'm like, okay, you know, if it worked for me, it could work for anybody. So I started to dig in more and more and more, and my business continued to grow and grow and grow. So I went on a podcast, and this was late 2014, early 2015, so about 7.5 years ago. And the host brought me on to kind of talk about LinkedIn and what I had discovered. And at this point, I was fully invested. I was reading blogs. I was reading articles. I'm a knowledge crammer. And my mom always told me growing up that facts are friendly. So if I'm going to position myself as someone that knows more than other people, I have to be able to back that up. So I wanted to cram as much knowledge as I could. So I went on there and I was spitting out all these facts and knowledge and things that people needed to know of why they needed to be on LinkedIn. So at the end of that call, I hopped onto Facebook and I had 8 inboxes of people that wanted to hire me. Now, I don't know what they wanted to hire me for because I had nothing of offering, but they all said, can I pay you to teach me how to use LinkedIn? And I was like, wait a second. I think there's a need here. And this is the thing. It happened in such an organic way where there was no way for me to find out that people needed to learn LinkedIn until it was brought to their attention. And then it expanded even further. I started working with client after client after client. They were getting result after result after result. And 7.5, almost 8 years later, I have close to 500 written recommendations on LinkedIn. 3 best-selling books. I have a new one on the way that's coming out in a couple of months. And now speak and train to some of the top financial firms in the world. And it's because I've taken this approach of quality over quantity. Investing in the relationship of the people that you're connected to on LinkedIn and getting hyper-focused, and even patenting this system where I teach people a systematic way of leveraging the platform for whatever business they're in to get their desired result. And that's what really pushed me online. And that's what's keeping me there.
I love that. There's so many juicy morsels in that, Scott. Oh my gosh, so many juicy morsels. I mean, from being able to grow, to use LinkedIn, to grow that platform. You are a personal trainer, first of all, to start with. Who would have thought personal training on LinkedIn? And then to be able to get 500 reviews on LinkedIn, I mean, that shows that you're definitely putting out credible information on there, which is really good too. And the fact that your process has been replicatable, right? Meaning that it didn't just work for you, it worked for everybody that you taught in order to use LinkedIn. So tell me about what businesses do really well on LinkedIn, being able to grow using LinkedIn. Who does really well on this? Because obviously you have a personal training background, which is totally different.
Yeah. So, for me, coaching, consulting, but I'll say this, the people that have the toughest time, I would say, are people that have physical goods. So if you're selling a physical good, you're selling coffee, you're selling food, a bakery, that's you can be on LinkedIn for networking opportunities and business visibility. But if you're going to want to create sales, that's going to be more, Facebook, Instagram. If that's not you and you don't sell baked goods or cookies or cupcakes or anything of that nature, your place is going to be LinkedIn. So I always tell people that if you know the desired result that you would like to have on LinkedIn, meaning you would like to find a great new hire, you would like to shift into a new career, you would like to gain new leads, you would like to generate new conversations, you would like to have collaborations, you would like to do more consulting, speaking, coaching, selling, maybe a product or service instead of a physical good. I've worked with lawyers, I've worked with accountants, financial service professionals, insurance professionals, supply chain demand companies. As long as you know the end result of what you're looking to achieve, I can teach you how to navigate through the facets of LinkedIn to make it work for you.
I love it. So let's say we're going to throw away those sales genie lists. Okay. We're not going to use them anymore. No more sales genie. Okay. No more Nick's codes queries here. So let's say I'm throwing away the sales genie, right? And I want to start LinkedIn. I want to start building my leads to LinkedIn, right? Because all of our listeners they're small businesses, right? And that's what they want to do. They want to continue to grow. They want to continue to build leads. Where do we start? Where do we start with LinkedIn?
The first layer of where you would want to start on LinkedIn, and I call it the 4 layers of LinkedIn, because think of LinkedIn like a layer cake. You have the big base at the bottom, and then you have smaller layers as you tier towards the top. That bottom layer is your profile. That is the homepage to your website. That is where people go to see what it is that you do, how you do it, why you do it, and who you serve. Now, this is not a shameless plug, but if you go to my website, scottaaron.net, so SCOTTAARON.net, there's going to be an immediate pop-up that will allow you to download my free infograph where you can start to optimize your profile. That is the best place to start. Now, here's why. LinkedIn is a business search engine. So just like Google, just like Yahoo, just like Bing, LinkedIn is based off of keywords. So what I always instruct my clients and companies that I consult for is don't think about yourself. Think about the person that's trying to find you. What are those keywords? If they were to go onto Google, what would they be typing in the search bar in order for you to come up? So my profile, it has podcast host, it has LinkedIn lead generation, it has marketing, branding, coaching, speaking, the things that I want to be searched for. So whatever you want to be searched for, it's what you want to include in any way that you can on your profile, whether it's your headline, whether it's your about me section where you can tell your story of how you got to be able to do what you're doing, your experience section, which lists all of the things that you're currently doing and previous that led to what you're doing right now, education, licenses and certifications, volunteer experience, all of those things mount up to optimizing your profile. And that's exactly what I teach people. But here's the other interesting thing. Google yourself. Google yourself. See what comes up. If your LinkedIn profile is not the first thing that comes up, it's not optimized. And you're invisible. So you're going to be missing opportunities. And that's the big thing. You have to think about, who do I want to be connecting with? Who do I want to find me? So when you can specifically define the person on the other side of that computer screen that's on LinkedIn searching for you, you're going to know, because whoever's listening to this, you know your business better than myself, better than Susanne. So we can't tell you what you should be putting on your profile. If you're an accountant, you should have accounting stuff all over there. If you're a business owner that specializes in a specific niche, those specific niches should be completely visible to anyone that visits your profile. Now, how can you tell if your profile is not optimized? The easiest way is when you go to your profile, there's an area towards the top that says your dashboard. Now, when it says your dashboard, it gives you three things. Number one, it tells you how many searches you've appeared in. Two, how many people have viewed your profile. And three, how many people viewed your last post, if you made one. Now, the one thing that you want to look at first is the search appearances. This is where LinkedIn actually shows you this is exactly who's looking for you, who's typed in something in the search engine, and where you came up. Now, if that number is significantly low, you are missing an opportunity on LinkedIn. Now, just to quantify an example, on average, every 7 days on LinkedIn, I'm appearing in close to 2,000 searches every 7 days. So 300 times a day, my name is appearing in a search, which gives me a ton of visibility because, again, the more often my name comes up in a search, the more they're going to click on my profile, visit my profile. And if they are a qualified connection, if they're a qualified lead or good person to connect with, guess what they're going to do? They're going to connect with me or even send me a message. But again, if those numbers are low, you're missing a lot of opportunities. So you have to start with your profile first to have any of the other areas of LinkedIn, which is building your network, messaging people, and creating content. For any of that to work, you need the foundation. If there is no base, if there is no foundation to your house, it will cave in.
I love that. So guys, don't abandon your profile. Okay. Make sure that the world knows what you do and make sure in your profile, you tell people what they're going to be searching for. Make sure that keyword is in there too. With that, one of the things I've been playing with on LinkedIn, Scott, is hashtags. What are your thoughts about hashtags on LinkedIn?
Love them. The best things to do with hashtags is in every piece of your content. The magic range for hashtags is 3 to 5. No less than 3, no more than 5. If you do 6+, if you do 1 to 2, you're missing the mark. Now, I always do 5 hashtags. 4 are custom to my content. And that's the other mistake that people make. They just put like hashtag whatever you're writing. So if it's a business tip, if it's business, business information, that's going to be your hashtag, because you have to understand the way that LinkedIn has enabled people to leverage the platform to filter out their newsfeed. What LinkedIn did was they said, okay, if you don't want to see a ton of this content, follow certain hashtags and we will show you that content first. So now, again, think about the person on the other side of the screen. So whoever your ideal client, customer, business partner, future hiree, whoever they are, what would they most likely follow hashtag wise? So then they're going to see your content. So again, you're always putting yourself into the headspace of the person on the other side of the computer screen. I call it the PSP, the passenger side perspective, not the DSP, which is the driver side perspective. That's yours. Your perspective does not matter. It's the passenger that matters most, because that's who you're marketing and that's who you're connecting to. The 5th hashtag that you want to use should be your own custom hashtag. So anyone can create their own hashtag. You just start typing it. Mine is linked leads, LINKED If you follow that hashtag on LinkedIn, you will see every single piece of content I have and ever will write on LinkedIn. So it could be hashtag Suzanne's thoughts. And again, you can actually put in the body of your message in, quote, parentheses, follow my personal hashtag for my information. So it's a way to funnel people, not just with the hashtags that you're using to relate to your content, but now you're building your personal brand. You have your own personal hashtag where if you build that, raving fan club that's going to follow your hashtag, they're going to see your content first. They're going to connect with you. And it's a way to build that know, like, and trust even better.
I love it. I love it. So hashtag magic, guys, hashtag magic, create your own hashtag, and make sure you follow hashtag LinkedIn leads to get Scott Aaron's hashtag. And so, Scott, another thing that always comes across with LinkedIn, right, is, I love Malcolm Gladwell's book, Talking to Strangers. It can be awkward, right? Like following, connecting when you have no previous connection with someone, right? And what are your recommendations and tips for talking to strangers on LinkedIn and really building those connections?
Well, I'll say this first, that it's only weird talking to strangers if you make it weird, first and foremost. If you think about, as we grew up as little kids, how did we meet new people? We went to the playground and we said, hey, what's your name? Right? We had no issue. A lot of people are afraid to talk to strangers for the fear of failure or the fear of judgment, right? What's this person going to think of me? Are they going to take me seriously? Am I going to say the wrong thing? It's all stories in your head. So for me, one of my core foundations and one of my core principles is human connection. That's what drives me. Like, I love connecting with people. Now, for those introverted people that want the skies to open up and just drop business into their lap, it's not going to happen that way. You actually have to network, right? You actually have to talk to people. But I will tell you this, the people that talk to the most new people on LinkedIn are the ones that are going to win. And you don't have to make it weird. So there's a couple things that I always tell people in regards to talking to people that they don't know on LinkedIn. A, you want to really define your ideal avatar, your connection avatar. So who is the person that you're going to relate to best? And this could be from a client standpoint. This can be from a hiree standpoint. This can be from a customer standpoint, right? Who is that person that you would relate to best from that arena? B, power partners. So these are people that can do introductions, you can collaborate with. And I'm going to go back to a personal training example. If my ideal client on LinkedIn were other personal trainers and I was teaching them how to grow an online business, they would be my ideal connection avatar. Now, my power partner connection avatar would be a gym owner. Why? Because they employ personal trainers. So I can connect with that person that's one step away. So I'm always looking to bridge the gap between myself and the other person where I'm going to have the greatest amount of connection without ever speaking to them before. It's about lowering the wall of resistance and raising the level of connection. So you have to think about who is that individual that I can search and connect with, where if I did send them a connection request and they did accept, and I did send them a nice, genuine, authentic message, they would respond, yeah, let's hop on a call. The only way to move the needle of your business forward is to talk to more people about your business. You can't expect a business to grow if you're just going to hold it all to yourself. You need to share it with the world. Now, that brings me to the second phase of this. So now you're starting to connect with your ideal clients, your power partners, and they're accepting. So what do I do to reach out to start having a conversation? Well, I've created something called the magic formula, and it's a 3-step process to sending a very genuine, authentic message where, again, from that passenger side perspective, from the person on the other side of the screen, they're going to read this message and they're going to be like, I want to respond to that. Now, you don't sell, you don't pitch, you don't send some 18 paragraph long drunkalog that you're just verbal vomiting all over the person. You actually want to create connection, and you make it very relaxed. So there's 3 steps. The first step is a nice, warm, relaxed opening. Hey, Suzanne, it's so great to be connected to you. Not dear Suzanne, comma, space, indent, next paragraph, because that's actually mimicking some automated software that a lot of people are using on LinkedIn, which actually goes against the user agreement, which can get you kicked off of the platform. So don't do that. The second part is, I call it bridging the gap or lowering the drawbridge. It's creating a connecting point between you and that individual where they're going to read it and they're going to be like, you know what? That makes sense. I know why they're reaching out to me. So it can be, hey, Suzanne, great to be connected to you. I noticed that you were in XYZ industry or XYZ profession, as am I. Would love to hear how things are going, share more about what's going on with me, and how we can support one another here on LinkedIn. Now, I've done a couple things. Number one, I've bridged the gap. I've lowered that drawbridge where I've invited that person across, because now Suzanne's going to read that message and she's going to be like, well, that makes sense. He's in XYZ profession. I'm in XYZ profession. That's why he's reaching out. But the second thing I did was I used the second most important word in the English language outside of someone's first name, which is support. So it's been scientifically proven that when someone hears or reads the word support and says it in their head, it actually triggers their brain to release a chemical called oxytocin. This is our feel-good brain chemical, just like dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, cortisol. So now this person is feeling good as they're reading this message. The third and final part is you want to finish with a CTA, call to action. Questions lead to answers, statements lead to nowhere. You have to ASK to GET. You have to ask in order to get. So I would simply finish with, do you have any time this week or next week for a call or a Zoom? That's it. State their name, reason for reaching out, and then you ask them for a call. What's the worst thing they're going to say? Nothing or no. What's the best case scenario? They say yes. You have a great conversation with a new person you've never met before, but you have a connecting point that you can actually work into the conversation to build that know, like, and trust.
I love it. Profit First Entrepreneurs, you guys just got some juicy bombshells. Oh my gosh. Not only how to reach out to strangers, but let's just build support, let's just support each other, go ahead and connect with Scott, Aaron, and I on LinkedIn, right now, we want to support you guys. And finally, how to bridge that gap, right? How to make that actual connection, right? Because, we don't want to just stay on social media, right? And have a bunch of followers. We want to get on the phone. We want to have Zoom coffee chats, right? So how to bridge that gap from cold to, being friends, right? Being a real connection. So that was
Yeah.
some really, really juicy connections with that. And so, Scott, you've dropped so many bombshells of good, juicy morsels with us today. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is such a wonderful podcast. Like, everybody, make sure you give great feedback for Scott. Go like him on LinkedIn. But before that, just tell us, what are some things we should avoid on LinkedIn? Because you always hear that LinkedIn is stiff, you got to be professional. It's going to live with you for the rest of your life. What are some do not do's on LinkedIn?
So the biggest do not, I would say, outside of violating the user agreement by having automated software that connects and messages for you. That's above all, don't do that. The biggest no-no is selling and pitching to your network, whether that's in your content that you're creating, whether that's in your the notes that you're adding to a connection request. People are getting so lazy now. They're not even waiting to be connected to the person. They're just literally clicking connect. They're adding a note, throwing their sales pitch in there, and then they're on. And again, no one buys anything from anyone that they don't know, they don't like, and they don't trust. I'm sorry, that's just how it goes. I've been in sales for 25 years. I can tell you that's how it goes. But also selling and pitching in a message, but also something called the bait and switch, where there's people that will send a nice, genuine, authentic message to get someone on the call, just to get them on the call, just so they can pitch and sell them from the onset. And you get one opportunity to leave a great first impression. And if you don't think people talk on LinkedIn about certain individuals to stay away from, if you leave that bad first impression, you're going to run yourself right off the platform. So there's that do not sell, do not pitch. It will stretch in every facet of LinkedIn. Don't sell and pitch in notes. Don't sell and pitch in messages. Don't sell and pitch in phone calls. Don't sell and pitch in your content. Because again, you want to do things to bring people closer to you instead of pushing them further away. And once someone feels like they're being sold and pitched to, that's a one-way ticket for them to walk right out that door. No one likes being sold and pitched to. You are on LinkedIn to build trust, rapport, relationships, connections, because again, you have to enter that doorway without charging anything and expecting nothing back in return. You have to add value, you have to give value, you have to lead with value in order to earn that trust from that individual that will end up doing some sort of business transaction with you at a later date.
I love it. I love it. So no dear so-and-so #pound, no automated messages. And remember, we're here to connect and support, connect.
Yes.
And if the sale happens, that's great because of that relationship. It's really, instead of, you're not in person going to the networking event, but you're online. And just like you wouldn't say, hey, bye from me at the networking event, you're not going to say bye from me on LinkedIn either. You're going to build that relationship and see where it goes. Very, very beautiful morsels. Now, Scott, one of the things we like to ask people as we conclude our episode is if you could leave one piece of advice for our viewers and listeners, it can be personal, it can be business. What would that piece of advice be?
Well, I'll leave this in a quick story, and then we'll go from there. So I was interviewing someone on my podcast a few years ago by the name of Cody Shewan, and he's a Canadian author, wrote a great book called Everyday Legacy. Highly, highly suggest this read. And he was a funeral director for nearly 2 decades. So the man was surrounded by death for almost 20 years of his life. And, he's a speaker, author, he's doing great things now. So in this book, and this is why I had him on the podcast, he was sharing a story about one of the final services that he oversaw. And it was for this high-profile Canadian businessman. And Cody said he walked out into the room where this service was taking place, and he said he had never seen so many people show up to pay their respects for an individual. I mean, wall-to-wall people, not an empty seat, not a place to stand. And he said person after person after person stood up, shared their gratitude for this individual, how impactful this person was, his family, his kids. And he said it was the most touching service he ever got to participate in. So at the end of the service, everybody is filing out, and he grabs one of the sons and says, "Can I talk to you for a second?" So he pulls one son aside and he says, "Listen, I just got to tell you, I've been doing this for nearly 20 years. I have never, ever been a part of a service like this ever in my entire life. Your father must have been an incredible human being." And the son replied, "He was." And he said, "In all honesty, Cody, this wasn't a tenth of the lives that my father touched." So Cody turned to the son and he said, "Well, what was the best piece of advice that your father ever gave you?" And the son turned to Cody and he said, "The best piece of advice that my father ever gave me was actually shortly before he passed away." And he said, "Son, don't wait until you're gone for your legacy to be felt. Leave it while you're still living." And when I read that, shook me to my core, because there's so many people, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, that are taking each day that we're given for granted. We don't know when this ride is over. So I made it a point from that day forward, after I read that book, that I was not going to leave any stone unturned. I was going to make sure that I would do something impactful every single day, whether it was a conversation, whether it was a post, something to leave someone better. And Cody followed that up and he goes, "Scott, I'm going to ask you a really difficult question." And he goes, "I want you to think about this question as often as you need to until it's drilled into your brain." And he said to me, he goes, "Scott, how do you want to be remembered?" Now, a whole other layer of this comes up, because when you're actually facing your own mortality, I promise you this, you absolutely will start showing up differently each and every day. So to all the listeners, don't wait for tomorrow. If you feel that you want to do something, the world doesn't wait. The universe doesn't wait. It's there for you right now. Think about that legacy that you're leaving, not only for the people that are in your life, the people that are going to be in your life long after you're gone, and live each day, not like it's your last, but squeeze the juice out of every single day as often as you can.
I love that. Squeeze the juice out of every second of the day as often as you can. I love that. Live your best life now and impact others, guys. Impact others, and even better, do it through LinkedIn.
Exactly.
So, Scott, how do we reach you? How do we work with you? How do we find you?
Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn obviously is a great way. You can just search Scott Aaron on LinkedIn. I'll come right up. My website, scottaaron.net. It houses all my socials. My podcast is on there, which is called Networking and Marketing Made Simple, on iTunes and Spotify. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You can actually Google just Scott Aaron and I'll come up in some way, shape, or form, and would love to connect with you.
Thank you. And guys, if you guys are on the road listening to podcasts like I do, Scott sounds like he has two first names, Scott Aaron.
My middle name is Robert, so I actually have three first names. So.
Now you're confusing our writers.
Yeah, I know.
Scott Aaron with AARON. So AARON for Aaron, yep. And Scott is SCOTT. So we'll also have Scott's information in the show notes. You can click on his sites so that you can find him and follow him and learn more about how to network and create lead generation through LinkedIn. Thank you, Scott, so much for joining us today and giving us your gift.
Well, Susanne, thank you again. So grateful for the opportunity, and it was just wonderful being here, and hopefully left people better with this conversation. And again, thank you so much.
I think it definitely left people better.
Awesome. Mission accomplished.